live from Kyiv, actually. And I'm joined today by a very important person, Valeriia Palii, who speaks a beautiful English. She is president of the National Psychological Association of Ukraine, with whom Mental Wellness Society just signed today a memorandum of understanding of cooperation. We have also today from Ukraine Viktor Frankl, who is our coordinator for Mental Wellness Society, and made the connection with Valeriia Palii. Dr. Sherry, who is with us today, and Sherry Kelly is a very interesting, very involved researcher, psychologist. She's involved in so many things. A master in networking, and she's really very active in all our activities. My partner, Dr. Robert Lebovits, who is a cognitive psychologist, clinical psychologist in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, with that said, I want to really welcome everybody to our activities of the tax form. It's an update of what we are doing in Ukraine. And with that, I would like to give the floor to Viktor to give us news about himself, because I think we'll get news from Ukraine and from the National Psychology Association from Dr. Valeriia. Viktor can speak about himself and maybe also what I've been doing the Mental Wellness Society for him and from Ukraine.
Yeah, kindly thanks. First of all, I would like to say that now situation in Ukraine is very, very different and many various. So we have many aspects of this situation, and I think nobody know currently whole situation. We know only some. We can speak about some aspect. That's why I would like to speak about my aspect. I continue regarding, according to the cooperation between Mental Wellness Society and Israel Trauma Coalition. I continue to work with Israel Trauma Coalition on the training and educational programs. And we have already conducted 2 models of the main program, and we have many participants. I would like to say that we have about 2,000 professionals, not only professionals, it could be like helpers. So all people who are dealing with volunteer, who are dealing with refugees, so we train them on the topic of trauma response. We provide training, we organize many, and today I have this week's I have very busy schedule on these trainings. We could communicate it with these helpers in many different regions of Ukraine and even abroad. We have many information, we train them, and it could be happy that results of this our training are already existed. Are already presented. So we receive many reports of our helpers, how they implement these protocols in the working, in the dealing with refugees. We have some many results about this. So I think that I could be called this time as time for results. Yeah, results of all activities we started, we launched, we initiated previously. So yes,
but please send us to us access to what have been done on all those data that you are indicating about already the result, because that will be good for us to have and to be able to publicize progress reports for everybody. I need to say for our listeners that ITC is the Israel Trauma Coalition, who is a partner of Mental Wellness Society, and as a partnership between ITC and Mental Wellness Society, we ask them to help Victor, but because he just said ITC, but ITC is a partner of the
Yeah,
Mental Wellness Society. So what
yeah, yeah.
happened with ITC is definitely with involvement of the Mental Wellness Society for our listeners. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
now we are with Valeriia. Valeriia, Dr. Valeriia Palii, let us know about NPA, your practice, yourself, and your cooperation with Mental Wellness Society.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abraham. Um, Greetings from beautiful, brave, strong spring Kyiv. My name is Valeriia Palii, and I'm with you for a second time. And after our last meeting, we received a lot of warm letters with support and help from psychologists from different countries. And many colleagues offered us help with lectures, seminars, supervisions, and someone made donations, and there are many people wanted to conduct training for Ukrainian psychologists, and there was even a queue of lectures. And if those people are today with us, I want to say you thank you. Ukraine feels your support. Thank you very much. You are amazing.
Thank you.
Today,
You're welcome.
Today, I represent the National Psychological Association of Ukraine. It's our professional community, an umbrella organization. The NPA founded in 2017. We are young but very proactive professional community. There are more than 1,000 professional psychologists are our members today. The NPA unites various Ukrainian psychological associations working in different approaches and fields, and independent professionals. Our goals in peaceful time are advocacy for the mental health legislation. It's very important for Ukraine because we have many gaps in this field. We also working on improving the ethical standards for psychologists, and it's also important for Ukraine as well for other countries too, I think. We are focused on developing social important initiatives such as sharing awareness about connection between mental health and climate change, organize different anti-stigma events, initiatives, and activities focused on suicide prevention and many more. We also work on sharing, on promotion of scientific psychologists and educate our psychologists and share evidence-based psychology with general population. And also we are working on expansion of international cooperation, and today it's an outstanding day for us, and I'm very happy with it. And as Dr. Abraham mentioned, we signed the MOU between the National Psychological Association of Ukraine with the Mental Wellness Society. And I think that many important initiatives and activities awaits us in future, and I think that very soon we will launch a training about for psychologists and maybe for general population. And I also aware that the Mental Wellness Society has amazing library with very useful resources, and we are going to share it with our psychologists also. So thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think I want to say that the meeting you were referring before was a meeting that the Mental Wellness Society organized, and where we invited the American Psychology Association, and that was an effort of Dr. Sherry Kelly, and she made a great work, and more will come from that. But it's really an effort, because Mental Wellness Society is a network of networks. So that's why you got results, and that's what we do. So I want to congratulate Dr. Sherry for what she has been doing about that. I also want to indicate that last time when we met, you indicated that you were very involved also with dealing with the trauma of women who have been under violence, under abuse, under, I'm trying to use elegant words for horrible things. I want you to know that I was speaking yesterday with a partner, and they are launching soon with us new special training for women who have been trafficked or who have been raped. So we are working on making that available, and that could be very useful. I also want to congratulate you, because what we do with you, we have other countries in South America, in Southeast Asia, who wants to benefit of what we do with you, and they want to say, and they said, hey, us too. So we are extending what we are doing together to offering it for other countries and other parts of the world. So that's something where Ukraine have an impact even outside Ukraine. And we will see that more and more, because we want to see Ukrainian professionals like you to be involved and to share their experience, professional experience in trauma and war zone, to be extended to people in America and other places. So that's also something important. So as much we can do for Ukraine, we will do. Soon, I think we will have also some good news to share about some new technology, and it's not just Kenku. Kenku is working to repair the bug that they had, and Viktor told me yesterday that he had problem to access. So they will be working to repair the bug, and yes, they will supply all what they say they will do. But we have another technology for psychologists to help to reduce trauma in patients. And we will tell you more soon, because it's under the final review for the scientific validation. But we will have something good for you to announce. So with that said, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Lebovits, and we have some questions for you.
Good morning. For me, it's morning, so I'm going to say good morning, Valeriia. I'm sure many of our listeners and the people who are paying close attention to what's going on in the Ukraine would like to get perhaps more direct information regarding specifically what kind of trauma work do you find yourself confronted by. Obviously, anxiety, depression, stress disorders, but if you could tell us in more detail, what is it that you find, what's the bread and butter, so to speak, of trauma that you deal with right now?
Thank you very much, Robert. It's a very good question, but it's at the same time, it's very difficult question. In fact, the situation in Ukraine is not inconsistent. It's very, we have various experience in different parts of Ukraine. People people have quite different experience. It's difficult experience, but different. For example, there are some places, some parts of my country that are under intensive fire now. For example, Kharkiv or Donetsk region or Lugansk region. In some parts, people experienced or experience massive mass atrocities. Some parts are still under occupation. And I think that this experience causes different reactions. And it's important to understand, it's important to know. And as a psychologist, we came across with it. In addition, I want to say that time is also matters. And due to my personal observation, like the president of the National Psychological Association, and I want to say that we have a hotline for people. And due to my observation, the content of the requests to psychologists is changing. And in the first week, in the February, the privileged number of requests was about humanitarian problems. I know that many of my colleagues want to give, to help, to support people, but the main content of request was about humanitarian problems. People were shocked. They did not know how they could protect themselves. They did not understand the power of our army and their ability to defend us. And those days, our psychologists were actively focused on sharing and communicated self-help protocols to prevent panic and high level of anxiety, doing crisis counseling, and maybe pay special attention to children. After the first week, the number of requests about acute stress grew, and we are already dealing with shock reactions and acute stress, increased anxiety, panic, mental health disorders such as depression or some psychotic symptoms in very vulnerable groups of people. In April, our team conducted a small research. They interviewed crisis psychologists who offered crisis counseling sessions for people in April, and they revealed that the most common complaints in April were anxiety, feeling guilty, fear, panic, panic attacks, and high level of aggression. And also they studied why people and which events moved people to ask for help. And they realized that it was a situation such as relatives loss or life-threatening, having lived necessity to leave their homes, danger for personal life, loss of property, loss of contact with loved ones. And the privileged symptoms in April were irritation, anxiety, panic, emotional tension, emotional swings, and some sleep problems also, and some body symptoms like pain in the chest, breast problems, fatigue, and problem with attention. And I don't know for sure about May situation. It's just my personal observation, but I think that the majority of Ukrainians have already adjusted to the new reality, and many of Ukrainians keep working, keep living their ordinary, regular life. Keep I don't know, keep living, and but some people who experienced a huge trauma, such as atrocities, losses, bereavement, and many more, they feel despair, hopelessness, powerlessness, exhaustion. So it's difficult to focus on concrete diagnosis because we don't in Ukraine we as psychologists don't have a deal with diagnostic, and we are not psychiatrists. But due to my observation, we have an experience very inconsistent. So it's very briefly about our experience now.
From what you're describing, I appreciate it very much. Yes, there's nothing monolithic about this experience, right? It's not one reaction that everyone goes through. It varies by location, it varies by intensity, it varies by age, it varies by personal background. All of those variables are very powerful. It sounds like as time has gone on, you're identifying more chronic kinds of disorders as opposed to the more acute disorders. The somatization, the sleep disorder, the aggression, those sound like the more chronic manifestations rather than the acute ones that were present in the beginning. It seems that that's what you're confronting more and more of. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And honestly, it's predictable. And unfortunately, we are expecting we are expecting increasing of PTSD cases in future. And all our psychologists try to prevent it as much as possible for us. Working on hotlines, working on the ground, it's very important. But you're absolutely right. The situation is switched to quantification of the problems.
I think a lot of what we've tried, what the Mental Wellness Society has tried to provide in terms of the videos and the instructional material has been precisely to, if at all possible, diminish the likelihood of the PTSD manifestations, to try to ameliorate some of the chronic kinds of symptomatology that you're describing. I mean, I think that's what we really tried to do, because we all know this is going to take a long time to manage, to get beyond. Even when the violence and the conflict comes to an end, we all know how much longer it's going to take for people to regain their normalcy.
Also, I don't know if Viktor shared with you our document, or if he pointed to you our document on our library, which is called Feel Care. Feel Cared is a document we made for helping first hotline responders and first responders to prevent them to enter in tunnel vision effect. And that could be something interesting. And I think at one point we spoke about making training for professionals to be able for themselves not to enter in TV, and also to help clients not to enter in TV. And I think that's something maybe which could come very handy at this point of the development. But what you are saying is it's very logical, because as the war move of region, you have different situation in different regions. As the project change or release, and as the season change, the time, because it changed in regard of the attack and so on. But what you certainly have now is you can certainly see a category of the population which have developed survival skill. And those people can help other people, because the survival, and we are, the whole world is surprised of the resilience of the Ukraine, not only army, but all the Ukrainians. And because of that, it shows that there is a nucleus of people which have a survival instinct or skill. And those skills can be developed. So that might be something we can talk for another time on how we do that. But the question that was asking Dr. Lebovits is because many of the psychologists and maybe of the people all over the world are asking us, okay, we can help, we have specialty. Make us a list of what are not the symptom, but the trauma that we need to address. So that's why we were talking about anxiety, depression, sleep disorder, suicidal thought maybe, rape consequence, PTSD. But if we could, and certainly also, you certainly can appreciate that the people who have ADHD or who are bipolar or other pre-existing disorder certainly are more with some problem, because the people which were already depressed and anxious are even more depressed and more anxious now. But that's, I would say, it was already a pre-existing condition. So we need to look at the people who got something, or still the people who resisted, but because they get a little bit fatigue, because it's lasting. And that fatigue can eventually, you still have a wave of people who have resisted up to a point. But there is a point of resistance with time where it's difficult for people because of uncertainties. And also what we have seen for COVID certainly apply to your situation in Ukraine, which is a shift in the people who were decision makers and who were executive, and they were with a strong internal locus of control. The locus, COVID, working from home on the problem of COVID, they did not realize that they lost their locus of control, and it shifted gradually to high external locus of control. And those people even don't recognize themselves, and they don't even see it. So I think the shift in internal and external locus of control could be a very good tool. And in the Mental Wellness Society during COVID, and we have done different meetings and conferences, and we see that first, and Dr. Lebovits can confirm you, first we need to reinforce in our client, before making any treatment, starting to build again internal locus of control. And we have different tools for that. So that might be something we can talk more deeper. But some of the trauma, we have colleagues who wants to know the specific area because they have specific toolbox for those areas and they have expertise. So I see that Sherry has something to say. So Sherry, go on.
Thank you. Thank you, Valeriia, and thank you, Victor. Some of the the common questions, I'm going to talk a little bit more later with you, but some of the common questions that I'm asked from my colleagues in the United States, is obviously the multiple losses that you've identified that people have endured. I mean, multiple losses, as well as the larger loss of their life. Their life is gone. They're not only the physical things, not only loved ones that have passed, but it's a greater loss that is encompassing of many smaller or many larger types of loss. And the grieving process is complicated in many ways during a war. I heard from a colleague in the East yesterday, east of Ukraine, that mass graves and cemeteries also have been booby-trapped with landmines. And this has made it very difficult to bury the dead from the shallow graves or to even mourn effectively. Have you been hearing this, or is this just something I'm hearing from the East? I wanted to share that with you.
Viktor, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to add some comments. In addition to all of these issues, Dr. Sherry and Dr. Valeriia to provide us, I think yes, I agree that the level of traumatization level of stress depends on the geography, on the close or far from the combatant activity zones. But the common issue for Ukrainian population now it's expectation. Mm-hmm. Expectations regarding the end of the war, expectations regarding the date of our victory, expectations regarding level of comfort, regarding the quality of life, etc., etc. That's why I think this my comments is in addition to your speech and to speech of Dr. Shelley too.
One of the other questions.
I'm sorry. When you say expectation, that expectation become a motivation. Am I correct?
Yeah. It's the chain. It's the chain of behavior. Firstly, we have created some images, plans, or miraculous. So it depends on this
destination.
Destination.
Yeah, it could be the final destination, real, but at the same time, it could be miracle.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then think, I want to get to that very point also with you, because this is also relevant for the children of Ukraine. And I know that thanks, we've had this wonderful webinar a few weeks ago with our colleagues from the Connecticut Psychological Association and the International Division of the American Psychological Association. And they want to reach out and thank those of you that have been involved in networking to provide comfort kits that will be provided to children in Ukraine. Want to thank Bob Deutsch for that. And these are just examples of some of the things that we're doing with the kids. But Valeriia, can you talk about what the counselors are doing with kids right now and what, again, not only as well as the atrocities, but what do children need right now in Ukraine?
I think that we should divide children into different groups because we work with children who for example, who are living in a European country and maybe whose parents are refugees, and these children are also refugees, and they faced different challenges such as adaptation, such as different education challenges because they try to adjust to new schools, to new community, and our psychologists help them with it. We also work with children whose parents are military, and they have very different experience because some of them lost contact with their parents, with their fathers, for example, and it's important to give support them. We also work with children who are victims of atrocity, and it's very difficult experience for these children because they are completely traumatized, and it's also difficult for psychologists because I didn't mention it before, but we also have problem with vicarious trauma because very difficult content of the problems we meet every day. So it's just several types of problems and several types of clients which whose we try to help. We also work with children who suffer from stress in general, and and they perform problems in school, problems in family, bad behavior, and it's also a problem. So our psychologists try to help all these groups of children and be effective. And I also want to add about bereavements and about your previous comment. And many Ukrainians are very mobilized during the war, because we understand and we realized that we should be prepared for defending ourselves, and we really believe in our victory, and we expect our victory. And I think that this fact reveals many inner resources, and it helps us to cope with different traumatic situations, such as bereavement as well.
Oh, I wanted to go there. So I'm so glad that you started this conversation. I wanted to ask you, as a psychologist, how you are introducing or working with the concept of hopefulness in a population that feels so hopeless. And, one of the things in America, there's a lot of writings from Martin Seligman and his colleague, Dan Tomasulo. And I just wanted to share a quote from Dan Tomasulo that I think fits with this situation. He writes, "Finding hope in a situation requires knowing there is a choice being made in how you react." Mm-hmm. So we know that, hope can be activated by adversity. But hope also means that you're engaged in knowing that there's a choice and that you have some control in your making a choice of how you want to respond, how you want to move in moving forward. So can you share a little bit about your thoughts on hope and helping people in Ukraine?
Okay, yeah, sure. I think that the most popular book in Ukraine nowadays, it's a book written by Viktor Frankl.
Of course. Of course.
And but I know that many of my colleagues, when they forced to leave their homes, they took with them this book, and it's our psychological Bible nowadays,
Sure.
And I know that many my colleagues and me as well find additional sense in this book. And I think that all this book about hope, about beliefs, about attitudes toward our life.
Choice.
Choice, yes. And I know that many of my colleagues became existential psychologists nowadays, because we understand that hope is a huge resource for us, and understanding of everything, and understanding the sense of this fight, it's very important for our resilience, because it's activate our resources, it's activate our strengths. I don't know how to say it. So
your resources.
It's my small comments about hope and about our experience.
It's not a small comment.
Well,
Actually, the first meeting we had with Viktor, we told him the best remedy is to make people know about the work of Dr. Frankl. That was our first meeting. And we said, in addition to Dr. Frankl, which really demonstrated that in the worst of the worst place in concentration camp, you cannot forget who you are. And you need to think about what will you do when this ordeal is over. And this is a whole complete book about how to survive. But at the same time, in what is important with Viktor Frankl is, in addition, we were talking at the first meeting, it's to help at least one person a day, a person you don't know, not for professional reason, but for personal social reason. If you make an act of goodness, if you do something to help anybody, it's a way to save yourself. And that relates to Viktor Frankl, because what he developed was not just for him, but all the people in his barrack. And he was helping them. And that was something important. So I think we are very interesting, because we are back to our first meeting when we started the task force. And we are exactly on that. So actually, the daughter of Sherry is working this summer to make a little, I would say, outline of a course, how we can use Viktor Frankl in nowadays stressing society.
Yes.
And I think it will be very interesting to make it available on the library and everybody.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I want to say just two things. We did a video a couple months ago for mothers and children with Viktor, and it's available on YouTube. It's building resiliency in times of crisis, and we talk a lot about how to foster hope or cultivate hope in children. And I want to just share that the research shows that people with high hope were found to make different and deliberate choices from their low hope counterparts. So people with high hope learn not to view negativity and uncertainty as obstacles. Instead, they make decisions that either limit hope or decisions that cultivate hope.
Mindful choice.
Yes, it's a mindful choice. Yes. Okay. And, that's, I think, a big part of what you're doing is moving them, Valeriia and Viktor, out of that acute stress stage that impairs judgment, that impairs functioning. Under attack, stress causes this impairment, which Dr. Meyer has studied for decades in terms of it forcing you to go into a tunnel vision effect. But, as I said, hope is activated under adversity, but it also involves having agency. I don't know what the word is for agency in Ukraine, but you know what I mean, having agency and self-efficacy, and having, Martin Seligman says, optimism, having that capacity to look at something. And then the third is imagination and creativity to make those choices, to find other resources in your life, social resources, the social capital that turns that vulnerability into hope and agency.
Yeah.
on humor, having humor, finding a way to make children laugh, which is game. One day I spoke with Viktor about putting a funny nose. About it was the time of here in Israel called a holiday called Purim, where we all disguise. And I told him, you would be surprised if you put a disguise. You will be surprised about the effect on children, because what you want to do is to put a smile on the face on a child, but an adult too. So the question is, it end up to putting a smile on the face.
I wanted to ask you this, also, and this, you have experience in your personal lives as well as your professional lives with the children. You came out of COVID before this crisis, before this war, and kids were so isolated. How much opportunity is there in your areas, in your regions, for children to actually be with other children? I know it depends on the region, but what are you seeing in your regions? Are kids able to be with each other?
Nowadays, today, or in the past?
Well, now, today.
Today. Honestly, we have very mild restriction, COVID restriction in comparison with US or Israel. I know that you have very strict restriction. Many of our people violated and was absolutely opposite. And I don't think that our children suffered from isolation that time. And I think that now they also not so as isolated, but it depends on the region, and it depends on the situation with security in that region. But I know that it's a very big problem for children who relocated to an European country.
Yes.
Because of language barrier, because a new school requirements, different school program, and many of these children don't understand, and their parents don't understand for how long they will stay here in this country. And many my friends have a big problem with their children because it's difficult to build new communication with others for them. And I think that this is a big problem for children who stay abroad now.
Who are displaced.
Yeah,
Displaced.
Yes. I mean, there's no doubt tremendous separation anxiety that is prevalent among these children, even though they may be physically safer, emotionally, psychically, they may actually experience more distress being away from their parents. It's understandable, of course, why their parents would send them someplace safe, but they're going to experience probably some significant remnant when they return to their parents of need to reattach, need to feel close again. Sometimes you have to make the choice to save someone physically, even when it causes emotional harm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here we have a group in Israel of people who speak Ukrainian, who are helping children who are coming from Ukraine. And we have a group of psychologists who volunteer to help the children from Ukraine to adapt. But we don't have enough people speaking Ukrainian. So that's one of the problem. And maybe we might need to help by proposing the service of Ukrainian psychologists to help children who are, for example, in Israel. And that could be, or other country. That could be something interesting, because they will feel a connection, and they will feel an attachment, and they will feel a support in Ukraine. It might be to make a psychological umbilical cord through professional psychologists in Ukraine to help adapt in other country. That could be something maybe which could be very important to propose.
Victor had a
When they are
question.
in other country does not mean they are emotionally safe.
Right.
Yes.
Sherry, yeah, you were saying, Sherry?
Victor had something to say. He was raising his hand.
Okay, I don't raise in my head, but I raise in my body to add comments. Yeah, so I have other opinion regarding children and COVID, children and this situation. I can introduce my experience when I was working in the refugee center as a volunteer. I saw that, of course, big room, many people, smell, noise, it's very bad situation. But when children saw new toys, new children, wow, they were happy. They immediately forget about COVID, about other infections. They are seeing new children, new colleagues for a place. They are seeing new toys. That's why they are happy. So on the weight of the COVID infections, pain, and new friends, new toys, it could be better to have new toys for them. And also I had a communication with my colleague, for example, in Dutch refugee center. They told me the same situation, that many people are ill according to the spreading of other different infections. But children are happy. They have more time. They have more opportunities to visit zoos, to visit museums, to contact with other people. I think that children most happy in this situation. It's
Good point. Good point. We have in our organization different specialists in drum therapy, color therapy, game therapy, art therapy, which could be very useful in your situation in Ukraine, because that could be very handy, and we could organize connection with that, because art therapy and game therapy on all those types could be very useful for children if you are interested. Do we have any listener who have any question that they want to put in? Well, we have a lot of questions. Does anybody have a question he wants to ask? Please. So just type it.
I want to say thank you to Lainey Ducharme for asking about whether we can share an APA brochure and if we can translate that into Ukraine. And I know Dr. Meyer is happy to help. We're happy to help with that. Thank you so much.
Okay. That's any other question? No.
I have a question for people. If anyone is, please let us know and please contact us if there's anyone out there that would like to contribute to this effort and help our colleagues in Ukraine or have something to offer, a webinar or a training program, to please contact us and let us know if you would like to share in this initiative.
And you can also join www.mentalwellnesssociety.com, the Help Ukraine task force, which is right there. And you can ask questions and you can contact us, and we will be happy to organize, I would say, marriage a connection between people in Ukraine and people in other parts of the world. That's really what we like to do.
I have a question for our two psychologists right now. I'll start with Valeriia. What is something that you need right now from us, from psychologists in the US and in Europe? What do you need from us right now?
We, as I mentioned previously, we received lots of emails and different suggestions, offers, many just letters with kind words, and many colleagues offer us to conduct lecture, webinar, training, supervision session. It's important for us, and the first priority for us is trauma and trauma intervention and sexual violence, sexual abuse, bereavement, all topics closely related to war. We also raised money for our hotline. In late May, we will launch our updated hotline, which will provide a combined type of consultation. It will be video calls and audio calls for people, for all Ukrainians and Ukrainians who stay abroad. So maybe if someone wants, they can donate. We have a special page on our website for this. So lectures, webinars, trainings, supervisions, maybe some materials, donations.
Okay.
I think it's all.
Oh, we have one question from one of our attendees, real quick, from Bill Saltz in New York. He wanted to know if your interventions are your people getting help in individual or group sessions, both individual or group sessions? Are you doing a combination or just one-on-one?
I think it's both, because I know that some colleagues offer private practice and one-on-one consultation for people, and I think it makes sense in very sensitive topics and maybe. But I know that many colleagues provide group sessions, thematic, refer to concrete topic. For example, a group for military wives, or a group for parents who have children with different disorders, or groups for people who just want to join psychotherapy group. So both approach exist in our practice nowadays.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Dr. Lebovits, I let you close.
Thank you very much. This has been incredibly informative and incredibly valuable for people to know and keep abreast of what's going on with the conditions in the Ukraine and what's going on in helping people who are so, how should I put it, so overwhelmed with this terrible trauma. And we will continue to keep track. And Valeriia and Viktor, we will continue to be in touch and maintain these contacts. And again, just to echo what Dr. Sherry said, what Dr. Gerard said, Dr. Abraham said, anyone who wishes to participate and be of help, please contact the Mental Wellness Society, and we will take advantage of anything you have to offer, believe me, and it will benefit the people of the Ukraine. So thank you all very much for attending, and we will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.